Alright everyone, well, since the new Wolverine movie opened this weekend, I thought it would be fun to take a look at the X-Men logo and recreate it here inside Photoshop. Now, what we need to do is first create kind of a brushed metal look, and you can do this by perhaps creating a texture inside Photoshop. But what I discovered is actually you can find an image like this. It's kind of just a brushed metal, just basically a scratched up metal image. And I found this to work really, really well. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this from this document over to my working file. And I got this from Fotolia. You can see the name up in here. It's fotolia.com. It's a stock photography, and they've got really great images, and it's really inexpensive. So you can certainly go in there and find all kinds of textures. So very, very cool. So I've dragged and dropped that metal file into this image, and let's go ahead and scale this in so it covers most of the area. So there is my background. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and run a blur on this. Let's go under the filter menu and go to blur, and we're going to choose motion blur. And set the angle at around 45 degrees and the distance at around 200, and you can see it gives me a lot of varying tones as well as that streaky metal look. And you can of course go in here and modify the distance if you want to get more of a or less of a blur on it, so like that. But about 150, 200 tends to work pretty good. In fact, I think I like 150 there. So we'll go ahead and click OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank layer, and let's go and to our toolbar, I'm going to grab the elliptical marquee tool. Now, of course, on this new blank layer, I'm going to hold down my Option key and the Shift key. That would be Alt Shift on Windows, and start right about in the center of the document and just drag out a perfectly proportioned circle. Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and press Shift Delete and use 50% gray and go ahead and fill that square in. Now, don't deselect yet. I said fill that square. It's actually a circle. But don't deselect it just yet. We're going to go under the Select menu, going to here to Transform Selection. And again, we're going to hold down the Shift Option, and I'm just going to scale this selection in a little bit. So we give that inside area. I want to make it relatively thick. Well, we're going a little bit more, right about there. And I'm going to press Enter to commit that, and then simply press Delete. It's going to hollow out that circle. Now I can go ahead and deselect. Well, let's go ahead and create a new blank layer, and we're going to grab inside of our toolbar this time, we're going to grab the rectangular marquee tool. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle right along the top here. It doesn't really matter. All I'm really concentrating on is how thick it is. I'm not worried about its placement as of yet. And I think that looks good there. And just like we did a moment ago, Shift Delete, and we're going to use 50% gray, and there it is. So now let's backtrack and do a couple of things. Let's align both of these layers. So I turned off that one layer with the bar on it and reselected the circle layer. I'm going to press Command or Control A, and it selects everything. Select the Move tool and just click the vertical and horizontal center icons up here, and it will center that object. Let's not deselect yet. Let's reselect that block. And again, vertical, horizontal, centering, and there we have it. Now I'm going to press Command or Control T to invoke the free transform on this shape. Hold down your Shift key and just rotate clockwise to 45 degrees, just like that. It should snap to it. And then press Enter to commit that change. Now, over here in the Layers panel, we're going to go ahead and create a duplicate of this layer by simply dragging it down to the new layer icon. And let's invoke the free transform on this one. Just press Command or Control T, and we're going to rotate this the opposite direction. Simply hold down that Shift key and just drag over. And there we get our X logo. So now I just want to merge all these layers together by simply pressing Command D a couple times. And now that graphic's on its own layer. What I'm going to do now is go and grab a duplicate of this background layer here. So I'm simply going to select that layer, press Command J, and it will create a duplicate. And let's put that above that X graphic. Then we're going to go ahead and clip that layer inside of this X graphic by simply holding down my Option key. That would be Alt on Windows, and you get the overlapping circles here. Just clicking that, it will clip that inside of there. Now, if we take this layer and just simply move it and nudge it a little bit, you'll see it starts to define that X shape. But let's give it a lot more definition. Let's select that X layer and double click on it, and let's open up the layer styles. So now what we're going to do is let's add obviously a drop shadow. We have to have a drop shadow, of course. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit. You can always go in here inside the document and actually just nudge it over. Then we're going to activate the bevel and emboss. And inside here, we're going to go in here and change the technique to chisel hard. And we'll increase that size quite a bit. And we're going to set this to outer bevel, because for the style for inner bevel, you see it gives me kind of these rounded corners here. Not necessarily what I want. I'm going to set it to outer bevel, and it's going to give me much more harsher corners on that edge. Now, it looks pretty good, but it's not quite just, popping enough for me. So what I'm going to do is go down here and activate stroke. And we're going to increase the size of that stroke till it gets about the same size as our beveling, which is about 10. And over here in the fill type inside stroke, we're going to go and choose pattern. And inside here, we're going to go in here and choose this one right here. And if you just highlight over it, you can see it's a satin 128 by 128. And this is default. This is built inside of Photoshop. I'm going to select that one. And we're going to push the scaling of this up to around 250. And you can always go in here and maneuver this around. And you can see it's giving me a cool metallic look to it. Almost like it's reflecting area around it. In fact, I'm going to increase that up to about 300 actually. So the combination of the stroke with that pattern and the beveling really gives it a little bit more definition. So if I turn off the beveling, you see we just have the stroke. It looks okay, but with that beveling, it gives it a little bit more texture, a little bit more dimension to it. It makes it looks a little bit more meaner. So let's go ahead and increase that drop shadow and just push that up a little bit. Increase the size and the distance, just so it rises it up off there a little bit more. Well, now let's give us a little bit more lighting to it by adding a simple gradient overlay inside of this layer style, and I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay. So you can see it gives a little bit more dimension. We can certainly drop that opacity down, but you can see it gives me a variation of light there instead of just that flat tone. So that looks much better. So I think that's pretty much it there. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And we're looking pretty good. One last thing I want to do is that I remember on the original graphic, it had a split down the middle, almost like it was a door or something behind the X there. So we've got that background layer selected. Let's go ahead and create a new blank layer above that one. And over here in our toolbar, we're going to click and hold on the select tools, and we're going to use the single column marquee tool. And for many of you, it may be the first time you ever actually used this tool. We're going to click once and set a line. It's a 1 pixel vertical line right down the middle of the document there. And I'm simply going to press Option Delete, and it will fill my foreground color, which is black, into that layer. So it gives me that kind of a split look in there, making it look pretty cool. So there you pretty much have it, is the X-Men graphic built right from a preset or an image of a texture. Now, of course, you can go in there and always create your own texture, as I mentioned before, just by going into the file, running a little bit of noise, and running the same motion blur on it to get the same brushed metal effect there. But there you have it, the X-Men logo. Go see the movie. In fact, I did go see the midnight showing last night, and it is really good movie this time around. So check it out and have fun with it, and we'll see you next time.